It's the Jim and Terry Show coming to you from the Hobbit Hole Studio in Bobcaygeon, where I've just come from the Ontario, what's the site called? Public Health Ontario. So I'm going to say broadcasting from Bobcaygeon, where the wastewater detection system is showing my area of Ontario with COVID-2 in the wastewater going up and up and up. The highest level of infection in the province of Ontario is where I live, which may explain why, over the past week, we have been isolating ourselves and where we have been not feeling all that great. Yes, it finally happened. It finally happened after, 2.5 years? I was trying to be vigilant and be careful, but knowing that, you can't be responsible when everybody else around you is not responsible. And what happens? You get infected. Well, all is not lost. You isolate yourself. You continue to look after yourself. You make sure that you are doing all you can to protect others and to get well yourself. So what does it look like for me? Oh, how the immortal have fallen, how the mighty have fallen, how someone who prided himself on following the science succumbs to the very disease that is out there. It's in the wastewater. If you haven't checked, you can go to the Ontario Public Health, ontario.ca, and go to the wastewater charts and see where your area is in the province of Ontario. You might say, I'm full of it. Well, yes, at least our region is full of COVID-2 in the wastewater. And it's good to be aware of where it is and where it's spreading. And our area is apparently not the only one, but it is the highest in the wastewater number game. So what does that mean? Well, I just played you a little bit of Keith Allen doing some guitar noodling. A couple of layers of melodic guitar lines with a little bit of bass coming in. And I'll come back to that a little near the end and show you what I have done with it. Because my job as a producer is to say, what can I do to help what Keith has done with his guitars shine even brighter? And sometimes that means you just add in a synthesizer or a bit of electronica here or there. You put in a beat, you add the drums, or you do whatever you think you hear the guitar parts indicating. So I'll play what I did with it a little at the end so you can see what I did, and I'll explain it. In the meantime, I'm going to go back to the science and say I'm still making my way through the book. Dr. Peter Hotez is the author, and he teaches at, I'm going to say, University of Texas, Austin, and he's an infectious diseases and developer of a patent-free COVID-2 vaccine. So that's pretty admirable stuff. But he still gets hate on Twitter. Hate. Yeah, as in claims that he's working for the man being Big Pharma and making money and all the rest of the stupidity that gets spread on Twitter by, what do we say, haters gotta hate? Yeah, that seems to be pretty much the case. Now, I got to say, I'm working my way through the book. It's called The Deadly Rise of Anti-Science, the case in the United States. And it's sort of like the gun lobby in the United States, the anti-science lobby. And it makes your head spin with how, what do they call it, pretzel logic, when you twist yourself into so many knots, Gordian knots. Look that one up from the Greek myth, the Gordian knot. And it's telling yourself up so much in such a convoluted way that you don't even know what you're really saying. Pretzel logic is a common name for that stuff, and it's not logic at all. but it may resemble a pretzel. So the book I will report on, it's everything that I've thought of, which is the right wing, the neo-Christian, want to make the United States white Christian again. That group tends to claim all kinds of stuff, and it's documented fairly well historically and in terms of real-time repercussions of people deciding to put what they believe in practice. Or maybe it's safer to say they didn't practice what they were preaching, and in which case the results are just as deadly. Deadly because the death rates in red states did exceed far greater than, I think it was 8 out of 10 states with the highest death tolls were Republican. Yeah, it matters what you believe and what your politics are, apparently. And it shouldn't. Science is science. It has no politics. It has no party affiliation. It's just science. All right, shifting gears to something just as disturbing to me as a whole notion of, you choose what you're going to believe based on your faith. My faith dictates I'm going to believe this. If Trump is my savior, Trump is my savior, Jesus is my savior, Trump is my president, I think was the original T-shirt variation on that theme. You're going to choose what you believe because of what you believe. So because you are a devout fundamentalist Christian of an evangelical stripe, you tend to believe what? The earth is flat? Not necessarily, though it wouldn't surprise me. Or that people didn't land on the moon? There was no Apollo mission? Possibly, though not necessarily. You certainly might believe that Trump would make America great again and finish the job that he said he was going to do in the first term. Yeah, not so sure about that one either. The wall never got built. The immigration is still a problem. And you still have taxes that favor the rich, policies that allow the gap between workers and employers to increase, the wealth disparity. Yes. Do you want that? Really? Another 4 years of that? How about a guy who lies, 91 indictments, and you still don't, that doesn't bother you? Well, in Canada, we have the same kind of thing. We have the Climate Action Committee, CCP, the climate, I'm forgetting the name of that thing. I call it the COVID fog has descended on me. Whoa. Yeah, I was foggy at the best of times. All right. Over in Dubai, I think, is where the conference is being held. Strange that it's in an oil-producing nation that we're having this thing. Strange that the president of this year's COP28 is Arab oil-producing nation. Stranger still is that 100-person delegation from Alberta was hosting a presentation and sent 100 delegates. What was the cost to the taxpayers? I don't know, but it seemed to be a little bit odd. Odd is a polite way of saying it. That Alberta, the oil and gas producing part of Canada, who's saying, no, we don't need to worry about climate. No, we don't need to worry about fossil fuels. No, we don't really need to worry about carbon tax. And it's all fake news. They sent 100 delegates from the oil and gas producing sector of their economy. I was embarrassed as a Canadian to see this being flagged as something, whoa, what's Canada doing with this? And the notion is that maybe the federal government should have vetted who's attending on behalf of the different regions of Canada. Maybe there should have been a disqualifier in that, or maybe you just say, let stupidity show for itself. Well, they did, and apparently they were hosting a working session. And I saw a video of that little presentation, and there's a whole bunch of oil and gas executives looking for an audience. And that did not seem to be a good look. Well, maybe it did. If you're not showing up to an oil and gas producing presentation, maybe that's a good thing. Anyway, it's in the realm of things that don't add up this week. Didn't add up for me that I came down with COVID after 2 years of being so safe. But here I am. It doesn't make sense to me that oil and gas producers are at the COP28 meeting in Dubai. It doesn't make sense that the federal government of Canada let an oil-producing sector of Canada's economy show up in force, en masse, 100 delegates, the largest. What? And they're producing oil and gas? Yeah. Apparently they just wanted to be there to say, it's okay, drill more, expand more, produce more, and we'll all be okay. I'm not sure about that. So, things that don't make sense this time around. Now, let me get back to the song that Keith was producing. From a few little guitar licks that I played. You can go back to the beginning and rewind it. Here's where we are now with the song. We seem to want to find a spiritual connection to space and time, an affinity for infinity and the great beyond. Now chuck your branch onto the fire and watch it spark and come alive. Embers drawn up into the night sky, twinkling, fading, and in silence fall. And you can't leave once they've all been turned, and you can't light what's already burned, and you can't teach compassion and hope once the hating's all been learned. Well, what a development from a little noodling. Guitar noodling. Do you ever do that? That creative thing where you just put your pen on a paper and start drawing doodles? In guitar playing, that's what we call noodling. And that developed that way over the course of a week of COVID. Say it ain't so, but it has been a week. And it might be a little bit longer for the Jim and Terry Show to get back together. Jim, I hope you're listening. How's your eye? Are we seeing eye to eye now? Now that your cataract's been removed. Let there be light. The Jim and Terry Show. Signing off. Bye-bye for now.